Welcome to Widowed Too Soon. This is Michelle Bader Ebersole. I'm excited to be coming back another week with another amazing guest. You guys, I've told you about meeting all these amazing guests through Podmatch and different places. And today I am with an expert in his field. So today we are with Dr. Danny Huerta. I tried. Huerta. Did I get it?
That was good. That was good, Michelle.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, I tried.
Yeah, it's good.
um, it's kind of like so one of our guests, there's been a lot of times, and one of my friends, her last name is Portillo, but I never get it right. I try. I was introducing her at the retreat, and she's like, "Well, good try." But
Yeah. That wasn't too bad,
anyway,
Portillo. That was good.
yes. So
Yeah.
Dr. Danny works. I focus on the family. Can you tell us your exact title and what you do, and then maybe like a little bit of your background, like we were sharing?
Yeah, I serve as vice president of parenting and youth at Focus on the Family. And so I get to oversee a lot of the initiatives here from Focus on the Family for kids and for parents. And the idea is to help parents lead their kids towards a thriving faith in Christ. And that means a healthy parent, kids with a thriving faith, and then kingdom building families. And then before my position here as vice president, I have also served as counselor on the counseling team. And just so you know, there's a free counseling line. It's a consultation line here, Focus on the Family, and I'll give it to you right away.
Oh, yeah,
It's
that's
one eight
cool.
hundred the letter A in the word family, or 1-800-232-6459. And
Awesome.
that's a free phone call with a licensed professional.
Wow.
And you can take as long as you need to with that person, with that counselor, psychologist, and they will pray with you and talk through your
Really?
specific situation. Yes.
So
And
any of our listeners could do that. That's
anyone can do
great.
that.
For
Anyone can
free.
call. Donor
That's amazing.
funded, and that's what they contribute to. Yeah.
Oh,
One of the things.
that's awesome. So I have to tell you, when I hear Focus on the Family, I'm going to tell you what it first reminds me of: Preparing for Adolescence by Dr. James Dobson. I was a
Yeah.
kid, and that was what I went to a Christian school, and that's what we adopted and what my parents went through with us. So that's what it makes me think of. But I know it's a great, I mean, that was part of it. It's a great
Yeah.
ministry. It's been around for so
Yeah.
long. And then also I was telling you offline that I went to this thing, the summit something in Colorado. It was between my junior and senior year of high school, and it was about how to like protect your worldview. It was
Yeah.
pretty awesome, but honestly I just remember like the boy that I met there. I don't really remember a lot about. My
A
parents
lot
were
of boys,
like,
girls meet there.
yeah,
Yes.
we spent all this money to send you to. I'm like, well, that's what I remember about it. But
Good place
anyways,
to meet a guy. Yeah.
yes, and going to Pikes Peak and like going to all these cool places, and I was like, I like Colorado. It's really cool.
Yeah, they have the incline. The incline. Did you guys get to do the incline?
No, I don't remember
Here
what
in
that is.
So it's a hike's like 1.2 miles, something like that,
Okay.
straight up, like 1,000 feet in that 1 mile that you go. People from around the world actually come for the incline.
Cool.
It's right below Pikes Peak, and
Okay.
now a lot of the summit ministry students go there. A lot of people just go there for a nice strong, difficult workout on a Saturday morning. But that's a beautiful one. If you're here in Colorado Springs,
Yeah.
put your running shoes on and go to the incline. You'll love it.
Yeah, you know what else we got to do on that same trip? We got to tour Focus on the Family. And what I remember most is Odyssey, like that,
Yeah.
where the kids thing that was like I don't know, my
What's that?
friend, yeah, my friend had it on tape, I remember. And it was like, the kids talking, and then you went downstairs and there was like ice cream or something. There was like a whole Odyssey land. Is that still there or whatever it
It
was?
is. Yeah. There's a
Oh,
little
cool.
airplane down there. There's a big slide. It's actually a new slide that we've put in, and then the
Cool.
bookstore continues to expand. So yeah, come to our welcome center here. Focus on the Family. Get a tour. You get to see our studios, our radio broadcast studios as well, and
Awesome.
get to see the sound effect room for
Yeah.
Adventures in Odyssey as well.
I actually have one more connection with Focus Family, and it's actually sitting right here. So I got to be featured in Brio magazine. So
Nice.
I grew up with this magazine also, and then in 2019, I
That's
think
good.
I wrote an article about helping children. It was kind of the same thing about what is it called? Oh, showing up. How
Okay.
to care for a friend whose family is facing serious illness. It was when my husband was
Mm.
going through cancer. And I had connected at a
Wow.
writing conference with, I can't remember who, somebody who worked to Focus on the Family. And she's like, have you ever thought of writing for Brio? I'm like, nope. And I write about my daughter's perspective. Anyways, I just had this here because I was doing something with it the other day. So I have connections with Focus
So
on the
good.
Family. So
Michelle, I didn't know that. Yeah, Brio Magazine is so loved by teen girls. There are
Yes.
plenty of spaces to write thoughts and
And is it still
journal.
going?
Yeah, it's still going,
Oh, that's
and
awesome. So here's
going
one
strong.
little thing I wrote about my daughter right here. It says, "My daughter and I are thankful for those who have been patient, considerate, and consistent during the cancer battle in our family. We know we have an army of friends who are praying for us and surrounding us with support. You too can be an encouragement to your friend when she needs you." So it was about like how to help somebody who was going through cancer or something hard. So, anyways, focus on the family.
So good. Yes, yes. And we
So,
love Brio. We have Clubhouse Magazine
yes, I
for
remember that one. My kids used to
8
get
to
that one.
12. Yeah, okay. And the cheesy jokes in there,
Uh huh.
great dad jokes in that one. And then Club Junior for the 3 to 7 year
Oh
olds.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. I love it. I love that those ministries are still going. So, anyways, let's jump into what we're going to talk about. But
All
that's my
right, that's good.
connection with
Yeah,
Focus on the
love it.
Family. So we are going to be talking about children and teens going through grief.
Mhm.
So let's just start with what do you like? What do you think? Because okay, so for children, it's a little bit harder concept. I guess it depends on the age. Like, okay, we have like, children and teens are so different. So mine were teens, like 12. Mine were 12, 14, and 15. Um,
Uh,
maybe tell us a little bit about what is different for children going through grief than adults. I guess we'll just start there.
Yeah, it's fascinating because the brain's trying to make sense of something. See, our brain has sensory inputs all day long, and for a young child, so younger than let's say 5 or 6,
Okay.
uh, they're emotionally feeding off of where you're at as a parent, as far
Mm,
as how you're making sense of the world, and it's feeding their making sense of the world. They're starting to interact and kind of figure out the world, but they'll be reacting to adult emotions, and they generally don't, with the empathy neurons they've got, they generally don't have the tool set yet to manage all the emotions that come up. So they some of their grief may show up as behaviors that seem
yeah.
oppositional or sudden temper tantrums. So they tend to you tend to see behaviors and big emotions with them. Now, when you see a 7 to let's say 12-year old, what you're seeing in there is more of a processing of how is this going to impact me in the future. For some
Mm,
parents, they get concerned because kids start to ask about their own safety. They say, "Hey, am I going to die?
yep.
What's going to happen to us? Are we going to go hungry? What is it that is going to happen to me?" They want to know, "Am I going to be safe? Am I going to be okay?" And it's not selfishness; it's self-preservation. The brain's trying to
Right.
make sense of this wasn't supposed to happen, and many times they will say, "Man, I had a dream about that person," or they say, "I thought I saw them." And that's the brain. There are two pathways going, which also is fascinating. We have our memory pathway working all day long to work off of experiences and knowledge and memory to make sense of today and to make decisions about today, and then to also predict the future. And when something that wasn't supposed to happen happens, it throws things off. The memory is still there and saying, "Hey, this wasn't supposed to happen. This person's supposed to be here." And the brain is kind of short circuited in that,
Yeah.
where they suddenly feel emotions, but sometimes they'll feel like, "Hey, is that person going to come back? Well, how can we make them come back?"
Yep.
They want to talk to them, through prayer and in heaven, and they're wanting to have the continued interaction because their brain longs for that. And you can see different personalities begin to process
Yeah.
emotions differently there. And I know we'll go into that a little deeper in a little while, but then teenagers tend to um, process even more deeply.
Mm,
Depending on the personality, there may be one that just really starts talking about it all the time. Maybe in the car, maybe they go on walks, and you see their emotions and they let you know. And then you have like the peacemaker types, the ones that are more personal, one on one. They want to make everyone happy. They want to make sure everyone's okay before they feel
yes.
their big feelings. And sometimes I'm concerned about those guys because they
Yep.
tend to they tend to stuff their feelings until they explode, or they go into kind of a deeper depression, and it's kind of a jump. It feels sudden, but they've been processing things inside. And then you have some that want to control everything,
Mm-hmm.
and they go into all their homework or sports or other things, and they want to feel in control of life because life has felt chaotic all of a sudden. And those are those leader types that now become very motivated to do all kinds of things. And in that, they don't process the grief. They put
Yep.
it off for as long as they can. They'll say, hey, I don't want to talk about it. And then thinkers are ones that intellectualize and sometimes seem like they're not having feelings, but they'll tend to go towards tasks and wanting to control things silently. And all of a sudden you'll see them organizing things and being perfectionistic in all they do so that they feel like life's going to be okay. And they're also ones that sometimes become sarcastic or actually more pessimistic about life. And so the interesting thing with kids is all their different personalities are coming out, and then a personality could trigger you, right? Their way of processing things could trigger you and your personality in the way that you're processing things, and that can begin to create conflict and disconnection.
Yeah. I'll tell you a little bit about my experience with my kids. So they were 12, 14, and 15, almost 16. And my 12-year-old didn't cry. Didn't like it, just didn't really seem to phase him. Now he's 18 and has definitely worked through that. My 14-year-old, she became the one you were talking about, like trying to take care of everyone, trying to make sure everything was okay. And then she became very obsessive about her grades, like something
Yeah.
she could control. And then my oldest, Hayden, he was 15 and he just acted out. Like I had to call the police. I mean, it was horrible. I would be crying on the floor and he would laugh at me. And he's now, apologized and he's 21 now. And like, I didn't know how to deal with my grief. Like, he just didn't know what to do. And then he would pretend to
Yeah.
be his dad and not like the good version, like yelling and like just awful things that I tell people one of the worst things you can do. They used to say to him, "You're the man of the house now." And I was like,
Oh yeah.
don't say that. I've heard so many people say that people have said that to them, and then it puts pressure on the kids, whatever that might mean, the man of the house. So for him, like he took on like is honestly at the end things were really hard with Luke. It's called end of life agitation, and like there was more yelling. It was just not. It was not fun, and that's what Hayden decided to be. And he like I was scared of him. Like we would lock me and the kids would lock ourselves in the room, and because he was bigger than me at that point, and bang on the door, and it was just I would have to call people to come over to help me. And like, it was a really hard time. Like, so it's interesting how each child acts out in a different way, whether they like go to themselves or they act out or,
Yeah.
and I got to see that firsthand and it made my grief way worse when Hayden was acting out. And then, like so many things happened. He got in trouble at school. And like, I remember I got called into the office and I said this to the superintendent, "Do you know where I just came from? My husband's grave. Like, I can't deal with this." Like, it was just like so much stuff, because it was like he was going through his own stuff. And then interesting, the other thing I found, because it's been 6 years for my kids and me, is like as they've grown up, there's like a second wave of grief that comes. Like Hayden a few years ago when he became an adult, he was like, "No offense, but I wish daddy was here. Now that I'm an adult, I want to talk to him about these
Totally.
decisions and these things."
Mm.
And then I've seen that with all of my kids as they've become adults because they're all 18 and above now. So anyways, that's just a little bit, and I haven't even really shared that with my audience too much about my experience because some of it's hard to talk about. But my kids are okay with it because that's not who they are anymore. Like there was it was a really hard time. I mean, so hard. So anyways,
Well,
that's my experience with
that's
it.
great transparency. What great stories of just redemption there. There's a
Yes.
redemption that's taking place and a growth and a growing just of you guys growing even closer together. In so I started my own practice in 2003, and in that I've gotten to see, I've been a part of a journey with a couple families where they lost a parent,
Yeah.
and now that these guys that started off in counseling as teens, early teens, with different ways they're processing are now adult children, and they've come back on their own at times just to reprocess things. And some, what they say is some people assume that you just kind of get over it and you just move on. And really it's about life folding in together and this next step making even more sense in context to who that person was. And for some guys, the death for them is an anger point, and one that they have to process through, and especially in their relationship with God, where they trusted that God was going to take care of them. And then all of a sudden this is happening. And the vulnerability that creates begins to create a wrestling match with God. Why would
Yep.
you let this happen?
Yes, I
I've
know.
trusted you, and all these big questions. And it's been great to see the response from God in their lives in unique ways for each of these young men, where they begin to fall to their knees. Each one has come to that realization: God does care about me. He loves me.
Yeah.
And they begin to see a redemptive story rather than one of just chaos and a disconnection from God in their life. They see it
Right.
more as a connecting point now.
So it's interesting now, 6 years later, like how my kids have all responded differently. You know, I was telling you before that my daughter Haley is doing a ministry for the kids who've lost parents. My youngest is doing a Bible study, doing really well. My oldest, the one who was angry, is still not sure what he believes anymore. So what happened after Luke died is he went down this road of if God's real, why didn't he heal my dad? You know, and
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
trying to explain to them like he is healed, he's in heaven, you know, and he went down this path of like, well, you just want to believe there's a heaven, so you believe there's something nice, and just I still don't know where he's at, you know, and he still is trying to figure out his faith. And I know that, you know, God began a good work in him. He's going to be faithful to complete it. And that Hayden knows the truth, but he's in this place where he's still wandering and still like, you know, his dad was his best friend. And why did this have to happen and all of that stuff? And so it's a continual, you know, praying for him. But just interesting how kids with the same parents, same circumstances can go different ways.
And it's so important for him to go through this. With that intensity of anger could become an intensity of deep rootedness that is created through this, where he has an intensity of love, a steadfast love and
Yeah.
faith on the other side of this. And man, what a tough place that is for you, Michelle, to just
Mm-hmm.
see him kind of trying to figure this out and not trying to, you not trying to fix it for him, but praying for him as he goes through this.
Yeah,
That's
I think that's the hardest thing about having adult kids is no longer
yeah.
I can't control anything. This is new for me that all three of them are now 18 and above, and it's just it's a hard thing of just like letting them figure out things on their own and figure out their own lives. And yes. So let's go back to actually I want to ask this question that I've been asked before for someone with really young kids. So let's say under 6. I think they're under 6. Like this person was struggling with like they had their husband cremated and how do they tell their kids that, and how, you know, she
Mm.
was like, I don't want to lie to them, but that's a hard concept to tell your kids. I don't know, do you have any thoughts on that? Because other people might be struggling with that same thing, like young children, like let's say under 6 or 7. Like how do you tell them things like he was cremated, or um you know, I took this course called Grief Recovery Method and I became a grief recovery specialist. And it talks about being real with kids. Like
Hmm.
instead of saying
Yeah.
passed away, say he died, like just
Yeah.
being very concrete. So would you suggest in that instance? I mean, I don't know how you would say that. Or do they need to know that detail until they're older? Just that maybe he's buried or he, you know, whatever.
Hmm. Yeah, it is a tough concept for a child to understand and to know. You may have the more intellectual child that's more of a thinker type that will need more details and more information. And so you can take your time with that type of child and just say, hey, so he was cremated, and here's what that means. And you guys talk about that. You'll have that one. There are 4 different temperaments that we've known. And for with Focus on the Family, we call them talkers, thinkers, leaders, peacemakers. But there are
Okay.
many other ways those 4 temperaments are described. Right? We just talk about them as their function within relationships and within society, within homes. And so these are the thinker types, the ones that are in their thought bubbles. They're trying to make sense of the world constantly through their mind. Talkers try to make sense of the world through social interaction. And in that, they are very socially, they want to be socially connected. They have a sensory love of the world. And for them, the visual of this is hard for them to picture that, and they
Right.
feel deeply. So that one, you may say, hey, you have the funeral and all that. And they won't know that traditionally funerals, you have a viewing and all that. You say, we are We had a burial, and whatever ceremony you did, you said that's our time to say goodbye. And then you have a picture, and you bring that picture, that there's still that social interaction for that talker child. Maybe you can say, hey, do you remember this? Do you remember that? And they love to look at pictures and look at videos. You talk about that. And in the future, when they're closer to preteen age, you can talk about cremation with that talker child. The leader children and the peacemaker children, the leaders are the ones that are, you can tell they want to, they ask all kinds of questions automatically. They are the conquerors of the world. They're naturally followed. You'll see that already at 6 years old. And they're going to be ones that are going to naturally ask questions and explore. And so what you can be doing is answering the questions as they come. You'll be fielding them. And so if they hear the word cremation, they're going to say, hey, what does cremation mean? What is that? So then you answer as they're prepared, as they're feeding up the questions, and you go, oh, well, let's talk about that. And they tend to process things out of task, and they have strong emotions for things, but tend to have that strength where they'll say, hey, that guy's a crybaby. And, they're not as emotionally, they don't feel emotional safety to show all their emotions with everyone else. And they tend to be the ones that portray to be the strongest. And then the peacemaker types are the ones that would have the hardest time emotionally processing the word cremation, and they'd be emotionally thinking about that and have sudden probably nightmares and all of a sudden outbursts where they're just crying and they may not even know why. And that's six and below, where they are the deepest feelers and not socially. So they're inside of them. They'll go to a corner, to their bed, other places. That's where they will cry out whatever they're processing. And so they may hear the word cremation, and some people, they'll try to piece things together to not stir things up, and they won't ask questions. And so watch what you're saying around that child. And that one, as they get older, they will want to look at pictures. They're the most sentimental, so they're going to want pieces of that they're going to want, like clothing, to keep clothing or keep something of the person. And so keep that in mind and put those along the way for them. Maybe there's something special that you show them at 6, and another special thing at 7, and then 8. And then a little older, you say, hey, by the way, there's different ways that people are buried in their ceremonies and all that as they become preteens and teenagers, because that's just good information overall for a child to understand.
Right. So you're suggesting maybe, talking to each child individually,
Yes.
depending on what do you call these types?
So they're temperaments. 4 temperaments: talker, thinker, leader, and peacemaker.
And is there a way to know more what your child is?
Yeah, go to our site, focusonthefamily.com/parenting.
Okay.
Just go to that. That'll take you right to that tab. And then look for personality differences. I wrote an article called Navigating Personality Differences, and you can take a quick quiz there.
Okay, awesome.
And just explore that, explore the descriptions there of each of the personalities and
Can you
their
still do
emotional
it
needs.
for adult children?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because I still am curious. I mean, I kind of have an idea just the way you explained it, like who's who, but I think that would be very valuable to get this information on how to help your kids. I wouldn't have thought about the individual conversations and how they might take it differently, and I think that's really amazing. Did you come up with that, or did Focus on the Family, or where did this originate, these temperaments?
Yeah, I have a huge passion for temperaments and then personality dynamics. I just wrote a book that'll come out next year.
Oh, nice.
I just turned it in. I describe the 4 temperaments and developmentally how they play out, but then the personality dynamics, that we have certain ones that have been found through research to be dynamics that we can actually change.
Okay.
And so we have natural temperaments and we have adaptive temperaments. So let's say the death of a parent, let's say there's a parent that was more of a leader type, and a child tends to be more of a talker type, but then the family needs more of that leader in that child. And so the environment begins to create an adaptive temperament that you begin to see in that child. And all of us have all 4 temperaments, so keep that in mind, to be adaptive and connect with one another. But there's one that's more dominant that we were born with. And then
Mm-hmm.
there are these dynamics that we get to work on. And one of them is flexibility of thought and emotion.
Mm.
That's more that adaptive side that we've got. There are inflexible types, which would be the talkers or the leaders, and the thinkers are more inflexible in their way of dealing with life. And then talkers and peacemakers tend to be much more flexible. And the idea is that both learn from each other and come towards the middle. And usually talkers marry thinkers and peacemakers marry leaders. And you have one that's more inflexible and one that's flexible.
I see.
And
Uh-huh.
and so then it's really the idea of learning from each other to be able to have opinion. The talkers and peacemakers need to have kind of that opinion side and learn to be a little less flexible. And then the inflexible types, the leaders and the thinkers, need to learn how to have more flexibility to be more adaptive
Mm-hmm.
in relationship with other people. So that's one example of those dynamics. And I love talking about this within the context of relationship between parent child. And Michelle,
Mm-hmm.
that's what led us to develop a specific parenting assessment that was to each child. We started with an assessment for parents to take that. It was kind of a global assessment for them
Yeah.
on how I am in these 7 traits of effective parenting as a parent. And what we found with the first 200,000 that took that, was the feedback we got was, hey, I think about my parenting with this one child, but I seem to act differently with this
Yeah.
child and then with this
Mm-hmm.
child. And so I kind of marked neutral. And so there are a lot of neutrals,
Right.
and that didn't give good results. So we changed it to, now you have to take the test multiple times, but it's about 5 to 7 minutes. And you can find this assessment at focusonthefamily.com/7 traits assessment.
Okay.
7 traits assessments, the number 7 there. And what you get to find out is, how do you show up in the areas of warmth and sensitivity and expectation and boundaries towards your child. That's
Mm-hmm.
the culmination of those 7 traits. So it's the 7 traits of authoritative parenting. And that's the one that is, through research, has been shown to be the most beneficial developmentally and developing an attachment with your children.
Mm.
And the first one is adaptability, which is key to what we're talking about in this topic. This idea that um, I'm adapting, or I'm adjusting to who this child is, and I'm adapting to the circumstances we find ourselves in. And that's why that's that first trait. It's adaptability and then respect. And adaptability is I'm adapting to you, and then respect is I'm adjusting my emotions to match with you what is needed. And then the next 3 traits are intentionality, steadfast love, and boundaries and limits. And that's the momentum that now I'm managing as a parent in our relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Then the last 2 are grace and forgiveness and gratitude. And that's about the steadfastness of our relationship, that I'm not going away. We can have forgiveness with each other. We'll bridge up when we need to. And I'm grateful to be your mom, your dad. I'm grateful for life. And that gratitude creates a more adaptive mind. And so when there's loss and you learn to go towards the side of gratitude, you model for your kids the adaptability that you can gain through gratitude. And that's something that scripture talks about all the time. When we go to thankfulness, it adjusts our perception of life, which adjusts our beliefs and begins to adjust the way we think about things, the way we feel about things, and ultimately changes the way we behave in certain situations.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's really good. I can't wait to go and take that. We'll have the links in the show notes so everyone can easily click on those and take those. So I want to talk just some more situations and different things.
Yeah.
So I've seen in my own family versus other widows have told me, we made it normal since day one to talk about Luke, to talk about their dad. Like, oh, do you think your dad would
Mhm.
like this? Do you think your dad? We still do that. Like, it doesn't change just because I'm remarried. We still talk about their dad and what he would like, and make it
Good.
normal. And I think that's really, really healthy. I've seen, on the other hand, where they don't say his name anymore. They don't talk about him, and it seems like the kids are really struggling. So what's your recommendation? I mean, is that, I'm assuming it's a good thing to, I mean, no one told me, I just did it, to make it normal to talk about the person who's gone. Is that helping children? What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, it is very helpful for children because it's part of their story.
Right.
That person played a key part of the story. And for some kids, they feel either guilt or upsetness if they're starting to forget the person.
Mm.
And so the guilt piece is, oh man, the loyalty to that person that they
Yep.
loved, beginning to forget. And some kids will say, I can't fully picture them right now, and they begin to get frustrated. And so, going through photo albums, going through videos, super healthy to do. Maybe around the person's birthday,
Yep.
when the birthday would have been, or a holiday, because that's when a lot of emotions stir up. And what you're doing is showing the gift of the memories that you had, the gift of the story that you got to share with that person, and maybe do something significant. Maybe it's planting plants or a tree, and you see growth in life on a
Good.
day like around a birthday or
Yeah.
a holiday. That's powerful for kids because they're able to see, hey, there's a memory marker there that I can see grow and transform, and it reminds me of that person when I see them, or maybe doing a painting together
Yeah.
with your child if they're artistic, but just doing something meaningful
Yes.
as a memory marker each year is so good to do. And
Oh
I know a
yeah.
lot of people do that around Memorial Day. Uh,
Yeah.
Good to do.
I'll share some of mine. My audience has probably heard it before, but it's always a good reminder. So, we've done these a lot of times now. So always on the anniversary of his death, we go to his favorite restaurant, which is Red Robin.
Mm.
And we, in the beginning, we would share what's your favorite memory. Well, that got kind of old after years. They're like, let's do something different. So now it's like, what do you want to tell your dad? What would you tell him if he was sitting right here that you're proud of that you accomplished in the last year? And
Hmm.
so that's been a really cool one and very
That
like
is cool.
emotional because I wish their dad was there to hear it. But I love that. On Christmas morning, we used to always eat Cinnabons with him. So we still do that, but we share a favorite Christmas memory.
That's good.
And then we've adapted that now that I'm married again. So it's not just like for us, it's for them too, for my husband and his son. And like they could share their favorite Christmas memories from, whatever they want to share. And then, we always, I go visit his grave. It's interesting. Two of my kids, the boys, do not want to go there. They're like, he's not there. I don't want to go there. I go and my daughter goes. And once she got old enough to drive, she wanted to go by herself. And
Hmm.
I know he's not there, but it's part of my processing. I talk to him. I know I'm not talking to him. I don't talk to the dead, but it's like my way of processing. Or I'll be like, God, could you let Luke know this? And I
Yes.
just talk about what's been going on. But for us, it's definitely so May 23rd. That's when we always do something. This year, I launched a book on the anniversary because it was going to be 5 years. And so it was like my way of
Oh,
honoring him. Last year on the 5 year, I took the kids to the beach, like his favorite place to visit. And there's like a rock garden, and we painted rocks. Well, the boys didn't care, but Haley and I painted rocks. Just finding something
yeah.
to do. The very first year, I had all of my family over, and the last thing that Luke ate was a grilled cheese sandwich. We had grilled cheese that night, and then we played a video. And then I know it's not environmentally friendly. Please don't come after me, people, but we let balloons off. You should do it
That's
biodegradable if
good.
you do. And we wrote
Yeah.
messages, even though I knew he wasn't
So
going to get
good.
them. We don't believe that, but it was a way of my kids processing. And even one of my kids, he didn't ever let me see what he wrote. He just wanted to write something and let it go. But I think it's important to acknowledge, our kids' emotions and what they're feeling. And another thing, kind of a different subject, but I learned this early on, like it's important to let your kids see you grieve. It
Yeah.
gives them permission.
Totally.
I know some parents who are like, no, I don't let them see me cry. I'm like, well, there's a difference between like uncontrollably, like you can't ever function. You don't really want that. Like I do the deep crying when they were gone, but like letting them see you grieve, and they'd be like, are you sad today? Yeah, I'm sad. Are you, And I met a widow at this last retreat, and I love her idea. I've been sharing it with everybody. I think she has like 6 kids. There's like a lamp in the hall or wherever they have this lamp, and they said if you're feeling sad, if you're missing daddy, turn the lamp on. You don't have to say anything, you don't have to do anything. So we'll just know someone in the house is missing daddy, and so it's on constantly. And I just thought that was such a cool way and it was kids of all ages being able to
Mm.
just be like, I'm sad, I'm turning on this lamp, and we can all be sensitive to we're having a hard day, we're really missing him. So I thought that was a great idea. Do you have
Good.
any other ideas
Mm.
on ways to help kids through grief? also counseling? Like, this is kind of like a big, broad thing, but what
Uh,
are some ways to help kids through grief?
but Michelle, you shared some very key things. Boys and girls tend to also process
Yes, I see
grief
it.
differently, and men and
Yes.
women, boys and girls, right? Girls go towards more of the thoughts, the emotions, the feelings area, and they'll go inward and process, be the emotional processors. Boys, even though they have tender personalities, tend to go towards more of an action oriented
Yeah.
processing of grief and just of handling stress. And some of them, many times, boys are, uh, they show annoyance towards, like you said, hey, no, I don't want to do that. He's not
Yeah.
even there. And they respond strongly to that. That is a, a common response from boys. And so what you want to do is invite them into the activities, not force them into it. Say,
Right.
hey, you're invited into it.
Yeah.
And then when they are doing certain things that are action oriented, some of it may be their way of thinking, man, I just played this game. I wish Dad was watching. And they're
Yeah.
many times guys are processing things at certain times, imagining the person there, but they're not overtly talking about those feelings. They're
Mm,
thinking about the
yeah.
person, but not necessarily the feelings related to it. And so the fact that you guys are doing that, Michelle, that you guys are talking about your feelings, all that, you're expanding their vocabulary of emotions. And so keep doing that. Just say, man, today I felt, and maybe use some new words that
Hmm.
are more descriptive so
Yeah.
that it causes them to kind of, oh, that's a new word that mom used. And you're expanding their ability to potentially describe what it is that they're feeling. And it's not bad for you to sometimes go, hey, if I have an emotions wheel right here, tell
Mm,
me one beyond sad or beyond the basic ones. I want to see, I want to challenge you. Give me the most descriptive emotion you can tell me you feel now, and maybe some other ones you have felt this last week. And you just say, hey, I'm trying to train you for when you're married someday,
yeah.
to be able to know those emotional pieces of who you are. And just know, boys are able to operate more in separate pieces of who they are. Whereas women, girls tend to operate on all the pieces kind of working together and being simultaneously loud inside their mind. And so emotional expression sometimes is able to calm down the chaotic
Hmm.
emotions, all the chaotic emotions they're feeling. Whereas boys may feel a chaotic emotion, but they'll put it to the side and they'll go
Yeah.
do this thing. And they're able to just kind of box it up and go, okay, we'll touch it later. We'll
Yeah.
deal with that at a later time.
Yeah.
So just realize that your boys and girls are going to process differently. Don't force them to grieve the way you're grieving. But ask questions, help them still expand that vocabulary of emotions. And in fact, in some of the events where I go speak, I'll bring an emotions wheel for parents. And it
Yeah.
has some basic ones around there. It's a water bottle sticker. And the idea is to carry that around and then have a permanent fine marker and keep adding to them as you check in with your kids.
That's
And they
good.
say, yeah, I'm feeling kind of sad. Go, okay, give me another one. Come on, let's
Yeah,
let's
that's
take it to a
good.
different level. Give me another one. Then you write it on there and you see, man, look at all these different feelings, different descriptors. Good job, guys. Maybe you celebrate that somehow, that you're expanding that vocabulary. So some ideas with kids, it really depends on their interests as
Yeah.
kids. And so what they're passionate about, because that's where you can create the most connectedness within that grieving place. So let's say a child loves to read. Maybe you find books around grief
Yeah.
that could be read together, and you guys, with a young child, and you're reading that together. Or maybe a child that loves to read and is having a hard time with all the big emotions that they feel. Maybe they need
Hmm.
an adventure one that you guys read together. And as you're reading together, they may bring up certain things they're feeling or thinking, because you're doing an activity that they feel most relaxed in and feel competent in and feel excited to do. And that's when naturally they may start sharing. Hikes are fantastic with all age kids. Get out in
Mm.
nature.
Yeah, we do that.
Naturally kids begin to
Hmm.
talk. Yeah. For teenage boys, preteens, uh, doing a workout with them if they're
Yeah.
athletic. If you say, hey, let's regularly work out, maybe doing a breakfast, they love maybe the pattern and rhythm things will naturally come out in those moments. Maybe after you finish working out, you go, "Hey, man, we worked out the body. I wonder just inside how's it going in there? Just tell me."
Yeah,
So now their endorphins are going. They're in a better place because you've been working out, and you ask a
that's
deeper
good.
question. That's a good place to go there. With the artistic types, make it doing paintings or
Yeah.
crafts or things around that. That's very meaningful. That one's an easy one with the crafts thing. There's so many
Yeah.
great ideas out there. Gardeners, man, planting and doing yard work together can bring out a lot of great conversation, and so on and so on. So know your kids. There are a lot of kids that process feelings through music,
Yes, my daughter
and
said.
so
Hmm.
you have to help them find a good playlist. Maybe listen with them and go, "Hey, tell me what emotions these stir up in you. What emotions does this music help you express that it's hard to put words into, but you're getting to feel them with this music and get to know them from the musical side, what is truly happening
Hmm.
inside of them emotionally, and help them express it with words. It is hard to put words, especially boys at a young age. They have a hard time creating words for the feelings that they have,
Right.
and the more you can just help them just be aware of the feelings and then to try to put words to them, you are helping them in their adult relationships in a fantastic way so that it doesn't show up as behaviors
Right.
that are disconnecting to whoever they're with.
Yeah, that's really good. So a couple things on that. I started doing like one-on-one dates with my kids,
Oh,
and they
yeah.
got to choose. So that way you're going towards something they want. And I found that there was a lot of good, meaningful conversations with those one-on-one times with them. And I
Yeah.
still, with my one that's home, we still, try to go to lunch every week and connect. But what I found where they always all connected the most, even my two kids, one's at college and she comes home a lot, and then my other one, he lives here, so the two that are live here, basically we still do bedtime, we still say goodnight, I pray to
That's
them,
great.
and that's when they want to talk about everything. And I found that from
Yeah.
so many other people, they said my kids too. And it seems to be the
Mm.
time where it's just like, okay, I want to tell you this and this and this. Like, have you found that that's true? And if so, like, why is it that when it's bedtime they want to talk about things? Do you know?
Yeah, okay. A couple reasons. One is it feels the safest generally for most people. You're kind of tucking in, and you're not going to get bothered. You get to have your time now. The other one is the self control has gone down, and so you're not blocking as much, uh,
Mm.
which which explains on the dating side you don't want to be out super late because the self control is down. But in this case, there's less things blocking you from saying things that you could say,
Oh,
and maybe
wow.
during the day you wouldn't say. And so all that just physiologically is down towards the nighttime when you're going to bed. One exercise that you could do with the younger kids that when they get older around this bedtime thing would be, I call it the high five. And what you do is you bring your hand up and you say, "Hey, I'm going to give you a high five," and you can do this tonight, right? High five, and you say, "Here are five things that I love about you," right? So you
Oh.
tell them, "Here are the five things." You go through them, and the young kids will want to bring your fingers down, and then they may give you a high five back. They may ask for a high 10, just warning you. Then you say, "Here are five restaurants you'd probably want to go to if we could choose a restaurant." So you're first getting to show them that you know them, you love them, and you say, "Hey, here are five things that I think your dad would have loved to have done with
Oh,
you, or your mom, whoever has passed
yeah.
away. Here are the five things they would probably love to do with you today." And you go through those five things, and they go, "Yeah, man, I would have wanted to do this one thing," and they would maybe add to that list. And here are five things that were your favorites doing together, right? And you're remembering those things, and it becomes
I
this high
love
five
it.
interaction where they're thinking about something that is redeeming, life giving as they're going to bed, or you can even do it in the morning. If you miss it at night, you go, "Hey, let's do our high five as you go through to into the day. Let's do that," and you can do that interaction.
That's
The
amazing.
natural one to do.
I think that's great. I think even my young adult kids would like that. I think it's a great idea. Like I've been surprised, and I was still doing it with Hayden until he moved out a year ago. Like I thought they would grow out of it, but they still always say, "Are you going to come say goodnight?" I'm like, "Okay." Like they still
That
want
is
me
so
to.
good,
And with
Michelle.
my daughter who's 19, she wants me to read her a devotional every night. So we read a devotional every night and pray together. And I just think it's a beautiful time. And, we've said goodnight to them since they were born. And
Mm,
so it's only my one who doesn't live with me that I don't do that. And it's just been this beautiful thing that sometimes like it's very time consuming, especially when they all three lived here. My husband would be
yeah,
like, see you in an hour when I'm going to say goodnight to all of them. But he's like, no, I want you to do that. I think that's so healthy to have that time that they know that they are going to get one
yeah.
on one. Don't bring my
Mm,
phone in, focus, and
so
sometimes,
special.
I'll ask, like, what do you want a prayer request for? What's on your mind? What's coming up tomorrow? Just trying, especially as they become teenagers and they're busy and all these things. I love having that point to just check in and just see how
Yeah.
you're doing and how can I pray for you and all of that stuff and just encouraging that open conversation.
Yeah, and
Um,
Michelle, on that, I think that with the hearts of your kids, man, I love. It'd be fun to meet them. I mean,
yeah.
they sound fantastic. Uh, Serving other people can be so life-giving and
Yes.
healing to kids. And
Yes.
so I know for some parents, they've been concerned when we go through the grieving process at the beginning. They go, well, I don't want them to become narcissistic and self-centered. It's all about them. And it's not it. It's there's a healing, and out of that healing, there's a contribution, just like Paul talks about. As
Yeah.
I was comforted, I'm going to comfort others, and it's this place of now I've been loved deeply, and I've gone through this process of being loved by God, and now there's an outpouring that's even deeper.
Right.
That's amazing. So as a parent, look for opportunities to serve when you can, and that can also be a healing thing. That for some leader types, they've dedicated that moment to that person that's been gone. They go, hey, we're doing this in honor of this person. We know they
Hmm.
would have wanted to serve, and we're doing that. And this is a way of extending love towards others. And there's this one exercise. I know we're going to probably wrap up soon, Michelle.
Oh,
So
no, you're
I want to
good.
share this one. This is another very practical one. We started at our house where we put a journal at each of our spots, and we would each write in each other's journals. And I've used this with
Oh,
family and the processing of grief,
I love it.
where the parent, the way that you would start this is say, hey, sometimes my emotions prevent me from hearing exactly what God is trying to tell me. So he's going to most likely talk through you guys to me, and I don't want to miss any of that. So whenever you guys see a verse or you get a thought or you have a quote or you want to draw something, put it in this journal for me, because there may be a time where I need those words and God's speaking to me, and I want to do the same for you guys. I'll be
I
praying for
love
that,
that.
and then write to each other quotes, verses, funny jokes, whatever it is, putting it in each other's journals. But it's all got these are life-giving journals, and it's about being life-giving to each other. And my daughter wrote this for me. She was in high school, and she said, Dad, I'm praying peace over you.
Mm.
God goes before you, beside you, and within you. God is your strength and provider, and he will carry you if you let him. I miss you, and I love you so, so much. This was
Oh,
before when I went on a trip
so beautiful.
speaking on behalf of Focus. And so you're going to get those rich uh, conversations going through these things with your kids, especially when you go into that place of grief. And if you have a family that's willing to participate in this, it deepens that
Mm.
connection. But there may be some kids that say, yeah, you know what, I don't want to do that. Just participate with the kids that want to do it. Don't force them to do it. And then you'll see the other kids will be going, well, okay, maybe I want to. Maybe I want one too. And they'll slowly start to participate in that journal exercise with your kids, where you're not writing in your
Yes.
own journal. Yeah.
So when you say in their spot, do you have a place in your house where you put the journals? Like this is where they live, and you just pull out someone's journal when you want to write in it?
We just put it at the kitchen table, just
Oh,
around the table, right at
okay.
their spot, and it's waiting there for anybody that just wants to grab it and write in it.
Yeah,
And
I think I want
yeah,
to try. You know what else I see this doing? Another circumstance is blending families. That this is
yeah,
a good way, which is what we're doing, and some of our
yeah.
listeners are in that same place too. That I see this as a great way because sometimes it's hard, especially when you're blending with like teenagers. They don't want to say anything, but maybe they would be willing to write something.
Yeah.
And so I think I want to start doing this. I don't think it's ever too late to do this.
Yeah.
I think that's really, really beautiful. Also, when you said you don't want to force them, it reminded me of another subject I've dealt with and other people have dealt with, and that's when your kids are like teenagers, do you force them to go to church or they're young adults? Because okay, so I'll be honest, when this is what we said. If you live in this house, you go to church. My, oldest was older than 18 and he didn't want to go to church, but I made him. And eventually I stopped because it was like, he was like, just like being in a car doesn't, wait, what do you say? Just like being in a garage doesn't make a car. Something about like, you can't make me go to church. It's not going to make me be a Christian. Like if I'm in
No.
a
Yeah. Yeah.
garage, I'm not a car or I'm a car. I don't remember. There
Yeah.
was something.
Just because I go in a garage, I'm not a car. Right.
Exactly. That's what he's trying to
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I
Yeah.
finally, was like, it's not worth the fight. And like, I don't want him to like hate church. So what are your thoughts on that? As they're like, of course, the young kids, they're going to come with you. I'm not going to leave them at home. But like, as they become teenagers and young adults, do you think it's good, like in any circumstance, not just with grieving, to force your kids to go to church? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I think especially with teenagers, you can. This is about relational health and the health of the soul. And so, if church is not a place where they want to go, you say, hey, in this home, we pursue healthy relationships. And one of those is with our Heavenly Father. We believe that. You're wrestling with it clearly. During that time when we are going, you're going to do something to address the health of you inside, your soul. Whether that's, some of them want to watch online, want to do church, maybe want to go to a different church. Some may say, well, I'm still wrestling through the belief. Well, that's the time to explore that and wrestle through that belief then. That's the agreement. You're saying, I totally get it. You need to figure out this core belief because it drives everything else of who you are. But the option of you just escaping and not doing anything is not an option here. You've got to explore this core belief system, and that's part of the health of this home. And the younger teens, many times it's driven by certain emotions. So you want to ask a lot of questions as well. You don't want to just lay down the law, but say, hey, help me understand what's rattled your faith. What is it that you're questioning? What are you looking for? What has caused you to lose trust in this? What is tell me more about what it is that you're looking at or thinking about or believing right now. What is it that you actually believe? So as you explore that, this is important because uh, when you are interacting with your kids at any stage, and especially at teen years, look past the behaviors. So there are behaviors, then there are emotions and thoughts that kind of danced around before that.
Mm-hmm.
And what was before that are these beliefs. And these beliefs came from perceptions and attitudes. And those came from experiences and relationships and their genetics, right? They're just their temperament. So when you go into the belief system, you say, hey, if this is something that's up for grabs or you're struggling with, I want to ask some questions. What experiences, what relationships, what's happening over here that's causing you to not want to do this that is really a life-giving, healing thing for you? Is it anger? Is it a loss of trust because of the loss of this person? What is it that's creating that for you? And then be patient with it. As you are in this interaction with your teen, the more you show patience, compassion, love, curiosity, and also firmness in the boundary that you place, you will see growth and maturing. And many times you showing the example that you're pursuing God through a steadfast love and steadfast faith, and others are going towards that, and they see the redemption that is continually taking place there.
Mm-hmm.
They will catch up to that and become curious. They may say, well, okay, I'll visit again, or I'll visit another church, and they'll develop more curiosity as you go through that journey.
No, that's really good advice because I was just like, I don't even know what to do with this. So that's good. Do you have any book suggestions for children that are,
Oh, wow.
like you talked about reading books? I know I
Yeah.
didn't warn you, but if you just have any off the top of
Oh
your
no,
head.
that's great. I mean, the best way to go into just all the wide range of books that we have here at Focus. Just go to our
Okay.
e-store that focus on the family. You can type in grief if that's the one thing you want to look at. There are also
Oh, great.
episodes on Adventures in
Oh,
Odyssey
yeah.
that deal with the topic of grief, and so that's
Awesome.
a great one for all ages to look at those episodes. And you can search through once if you join the Adventures in Odyssey club, you can actually search, and they'll bring up episodes on certain topics for you. And that's a good way to kind of go into story with your kids. And you can even put a episode on when you're cleaning the house. You know, you're
Yeah.
doing chores, put it loud, and
Really
you have a
fun.
story going, and it can be on grief or whatever other topic. But we have a lot of the beyond the magazines. We have Bible story books. We've got Otter B series, which is about character formation for
Oh,
young kids, and that's a really fun one to read with young readers. And we have graphic novels for the kind of older boys and girls. Girls like them as well,
yeah.
and those are about worldview and theology of family, and so those are all great ones to be reading together as a family. And then we have a lot of marriage, parenting books as
Right.
well, and blended family topics, things like that.
Right. I forgot how many focus, like how many resources, and there's even more now since I've really looked into Focus on the Family that, you guys have, which is amazing. Was the history of it that like Dr. Dobson, did he start it and then it became, do you know, like what's the history of
Yeah,
Focus on the Family?
yeah. So I joined when Dr. Dobson was here, and actually I had listened to Focus on the Family for the first time as a junior high child here
Hmm.
in Colorado, and then they moved to Colorado Springs in
Right.
1993, and several friends worked there and all that, and worked here. And I never dreamt that I'd be working at Focus on the Family,
Yeah, it's
and then
amazing.
joined in 2004. And Dobson was in a trajectory of moving on from Focus and wanted to start another ministry with his son Ryan Dobson,
Okay.
and provided 3 dates for the board to interact with, and so they did, and that's when the transition happened to Jim Daly as CEO. And Jim Daly had been picked by Dobson like 7, 8 years before that, and so he was getting to follow Dobson as he learned that side of things, and has done a great job on the broadcast. If you don't listen to the broadcast, listen to that. And we have multiple podcasts ourselves. One is Practice Makes Parent that I do with Rebecca
Oh,
St. James. She and I
oh, I'm
talk
like
about
listening
parenting
to her back in
topics.
the day.
Yeah,
I
yes,
used to
yeah.
love listening to her. I'm gonna listen to that.
Excellent. She's fantastic to work with, and we've had her brothers on, and her mom as well, Helen Smallbone, and Luke. Luke and Joel have been on the show, and it's so. Join us in whichever way, but this
Yeah.
one resource is one you'll want to hear about. It's mykidsage.com,
Oh,
and mykidsage.com. This one you can have content customized to the ages of your kids.
cool.
So when you go to that page, you'll learn about it, but then you'll put the birth month and year of each of your kids, and immediately you'll receive
Wow.
content, what to expect, what to build, how to grow at that age of the
Amazing.
child's development. And then it'll age with the kids. At every birthday or so,
So
you'll get the
cool.
new set of content, and then a weekly newsletter as well.
These are amazing resources. I know our audience is going to love being connected with all of this. That's so, so great. So we usually, I normally interview widows and we end with like an advice question. So I'm going to tailor it to you a little bit. What advice would you give to a new widow, and when I say widow, I mean widower, someone who's newly lost a spouse, that has kids? What would be, I know this is kind of a big question, but like, what would be the first step for helping their children? Like, is it counseling? Is it like, what would you suggest that they do?
Well, the first step, when I mean, if it's immediate that something has just happened, or you're having issues with your kids now with trying to respond to them, first you want to check in with them, and I'd say seeking a counselor would be fantastic, because I'm a
Yes.
little biased towards that.
Yes.
So you can call our line and get a referral in your area.
Oh, they
But
do that
beyond that,
too. That's great.
yeah, though, we have a network of counselors that have gone
Oh,
through our process to be vetted, and they have specific counselors, grief counselors that they can
great.
find for for you. So call in. You can also find it on our website, the network of
Yeah,
counselors. But beyond that, just you personally, I would say a healthy you will be the most amazing gift that you give your
that's
kids.
so
And
true.
so that's you being able to get a support system around you so that you're patient with your kids, so that you're available and present emotionally. And truly, that word present is you become a gift to your children during this
Yes.
season that's so chaotic. And even though you have chaos, it doesn't mean you put it all to the side. It means you come in with a healthy processing. And so beginning your journey and the community support system, the counseling, digging into God's word and all that is going to provide for your kids the greatest gift because you kind of set the tone for how the home is going to process this.
Right. That's so
Um, I,
good.
I want to share a piece of scripture, two of
Yes,
them that I
please.
think could be helpful for you guys as you do this. In Psalm 143, verse 8, it says, "Let me hear in the morning of your steadfast love, for in you I trust. Make me know the way I should go, for to you I lift up my soul. Teach me to do your will, for you are my God. Let your good spirit lead me on level ground." Boy, that'd be a great
Mm-hmm.
prayer for yourself each day
Yeah, it's
as you're
good.
thinking about how can I be on level ground? How can I know of your steadfast love? How can I trust you in the midst of the storm? And then Isaiah 26, 3 and 4 is a classic one. It's you keep him in perfect peace. So that's shalom, shalom, whose mind is stayed on you because he trusts in you. Again, the word trust. And then for God is an everlasting rock.
Yes.
And asking your kids, do you trust that? When you pray, do you hear God? Do you picture God listening to you? And it'll be interesting to see what responses you get from your kids about what they think is happening when they're praying.
Mm, that's so good. Thank you for that. And what you said about counseling, taking care of yourself. My counselor, she was so great. She even did a house call to my house the day after Luke died and worked with me. And she told me that every week she would ask me, "What are you doing for yourself?" And she'd say, "You have to put on your own oxygen mask before you help those around you. Like, in order to take care of your kids, you got to take care of you." And so I would know
Yeah,
I'd have to come each week with, "What am I doing for myself?" And so that's
yeah,
such
that's
great
true.
advice because we really can't help our kids if we're not helping ourselves. And so I think that is the most important thing is that we get
Yeah,
help for ourselves, whatever that looks like. For me, it's definitely counseling. I still go to counseling once a month. I think it's amazing. I think everyone, you don't need to wait until you have a big issue in life to go to counseling.
it's
I think
true. It's true.
everyone, it can be preventative. I love going to her. She's always like, "I'm a professional secret keeper." And I've been with her for 17 years, I think. So she's
Wow.
literally seen my whole life and knows everything. And I think it's been, and then my son goes to the same counselor and loves seeing her as well. I took a little bit to convince him, like, she's like, "I won't be telling your mom anything. Like, it's all
That's
private,
good.
like just because we go to the same counselor, doesn't mean that we're
Yeah,
going to share all the stuff." But it's been one of the
so
best
true.
things that I've ever done. And I tell people, it's like one of the, yeah, it was too expensive, all this. It's the best investment you can make in your future instead of Starbucks every day. Like, put that money towards counseling
Well,
um,
insurance many times covers it.
and yes,
So
that
that's
too.
yeah,
A lot
yeah,
of places
yeah.
insurance does cover it. So it's
Mhm.
definitely, but I always recommend a Christian counselor for
Yes.
sure. Cause like when I was with Kaiser Medical, they would only cover, and I went to them once and I was like, there's no, they couldn't be like, they couldn't talk about God and everything. And yeah, I've got to hear from somebody who hears from God. you
Yes, yes,
so
absolutely. In that network, you'll find that, and some of them do take insurance, some of them don't. So
that's
you're
so
right. Yeah,
great. And a lot of
yeah.
times people are like, "Do you know a grief counselor?" And I love my counselor, but she's not a grief counselor. So I'm like, I don't actually know one. Now I'm going to send them to, would they call that number? The one you
Yeah,
talked
or
about it?
more directly, you can go to focusonthefamily.com/counseling help.
Okay.
It has a counseling number, and it also has a link to that network that I was talking about. You put your zip code and the specialty you're looking for, and that one is just know it's hard to get on that list, and you have to do a big statement of faith and all kinds of things
Yeah.
to be on
That's
that network list.
amazing. What a great
Yeah,
resource. Now I know where to send people when they're like, "I need a grief counselor in my area." Now I can
and there it
send them
is.
there and they're
Yes,
going to be able to find that. So, would it be okay if I close by praying for you?
that'd be awesome, Michelle. Thank
Okay.
you. Love
God,
it.
Dear God, I just thank you for Dr. Danny. Thank you for the wisdom that you've imparted to him. Thank you for his ministry at Focus on the Family. I just pray that you continue to bless Focus on the Family and what Danny's doing. Thank you for the words that he shared today. I just pray that they go out and help so many parents, so many widowed parents today who are like, I'm struggling. I don't even know what to do, God. And I just pray for every listener today that you would just go in and comfort them, God. Let them know that they are an amazing parent, even if they don't feel like it. I just pray that you continue to give them peace, give them strength every morning. God, help them to find ways, whether it's a counselor or whatever, to help themselves so that they can be the best parent that they need to be. And I just thank you for another day to be alive, and just thank you for all you've done. Amen.
Mm.
Well, thank you.
Amen, Michelle.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you,
love this.
Danny.
Love this. Yeah,
This has
love that you're
been
serving parents and
yes.
just people in tough places. You are pouring into that. You're
Thank you.
being a servant of Christ. May God bless you and continue to guide you and strengthen you
Thank
on this
you.
path.
Thank you.
Yes.
Well, we appreciate you so much. And I have lots of links to put in the show notes. So many great resources. It's been years since I've looked at everything Focus on the Family has, but I'm very excited to dive back in and be able to help my listeners with it. So thank you so much. And have,
Excellent. When you're in town, come visit.
oh, I will. All right.
All
Thank you
right.
so
All right.
much.
Sounds good.
Bye.
Bye.